This episode, we're going to explore that culture from the inside out. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Live Behind the Bricks. I'm coming at you today from the always sunny Billund, Denmark, and I'm super excited to see so many people online for today's session. I know some of you will be watching the replay, so a warm Lego welcome wherever and whenever you're tuning in. Today we're meeting real Lego colleagues, and I'm going to be asking a lot of questions to find out what it is they do, how they do it, and how they apply play into their everyday work. But not all those questions are coming from me, so I'm going to ask you to also drop some questions into the chat or into the Q&A box, which is that little rectangle with a question mark. My amazing producers backstage will then send those along, and we'll try to get to everyone. If we don't get to it, don't worry. There will be some time afterwards, and our producers or our team will address your questions. So, let's get started. Through the magic of modern podcasting technology, 5 of my amazing Lego colleagues will now join me. I hope. And there they are. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
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 Fantastic. All right. I'd love to just do a round. Introduce yourselves. Who are you? What is your job function here at the Lego Group? And where are you joining us from? If you at home also want to type in where you're joining from, that would be great. Starting up here on my right with Fatima.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fatima. I have been working with the Lego Group for the last 9.5 years. I have had a history with the Lego agency, which was our in-house agency. Right now, I work with the social responsibility team, and my job is to take care of an internal play platform that we have where we encourage our colleagues to play more at work, at home, and with communities. And I'm currently taking care of that product as well as the play content that goes on it. So that's me. I work out of Billund, and very nice to meet you.
Great. And hand it over to Lydia.
Hello, guys. So my name's Lydia. I used to work in the UK business. I was looking after the operations within the UK and Ireland. 18 months ago, I had the amazing pleasure to move out to Kladno in the Czech Republic. And while in Kladno in the Czech Republic, this is super exciting, I get to lead the planning and shipping teams who make sure that all those stores are stocked with our Lego products. So literally just outside my door here, I can see sets being made every day, which is super exciting. I've been working for the Lego Group roughly 3.5 years, so not that long, and every day is still an absolute dream.
Fantastic. Just below you, I think we have Roberto.
Hello, you all. My name is Roberto Chena. I am based in Mexico City, and my role has to do with the expansion and the brand experience of the Lego stores in Latin America. I also play with different hats, and alongside my day-to-day role, I am also responsible for one of our employee advocacy groups. So I handle the LGBTQ plus community globally. Pleasure to see you all.
Great. Thanks, Roberto. Maeve, you're up next.
Thanks, Jake. So hi, everyone. My name is Maeve. That's pronounced like Dave with an M. And I am our Director of Culture and Organizational Development here at the Lego Group. So my role specifically is looking after our leadership model at the Lego Group, which we call the Leadership Playground, which I think Jake will probably hopefully come up as part of this conversation. And I am based in London.
Super. I know Leadership Playground will come up. We'll definitely talk about that. Jens, you're up next.
Yes, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Jens Christian, and I am situated in the very exciting innovation house in Billund, as I am what we call a novelty project leader, which means I have the responsibility for being the project lead of some of the boxes that we put on shelf, more specifically the icons and architecture range. So basically what targets very much the adult audience that we're reaching out to. And apart from that, I am also one of the minions of Maeve, as I am also a leadership playground builder.
Fantastic. I'd love to kick it off here by just maybe taking a personal reflection. We all sort of go around and just talk a little bit about how it is that we experience the Lego culture. How does it make us feel? And, you know, why do we why do we feel so that it is important or not important in our daily roles?
Cool. I'm going to jump in on this one first because someone needs to, right? And let's be honest, everyone's going to repeat what I say.
Maybe.
Lego culture is an amazing phrase, but actually I think a lot of us find it's part of our DNA. It's how we work. It's about putting ourselves in those situations where you're going to learn. That's called being brave. It's about being curious and understanding exactly what we do and how we do it and what's going on. In my case, what's going on with the lines? Are we producing enough sets? And it's about really working with teams cross-functionally and being focused. But on top of all of that, you get to have fun. You bring your whole self to work. I get to talk with amazing colleagues all across the globe. I mean, and I get to build Lego sets. It's pretty unique, pretty special. And yeah, I'd say probably one of the best jobs.
There's a big focus, I think, on bringing your whole self to work. Maybe Roberto, do you have a perspective on that one?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to steal some of Lydia's words because that's absolutely true. I believe that since day one, when I joined the company, I showed myself the way I am, and I have always felt welcome. I have always felt that the company cares for me, and I think that makes this a safe space and a place that you want to belong to, and you are able to give everything you have because you connect with the values of the brand, and you also care about your colleagues, and you think of it as a family. So I would encourage everyone to keep giving their true self every single day, because this is the best way to enjoy your day-to-day work.
Yeah, and that true self, how does that come through in product development, Jens?
I think the diversity that we see of the people who are here is one way of seeing it. I think at one point I was told we have 85 different nationalities in Billund, and most of them are represented here. So we see all types of genders and nationalities and all the types of ways people can actually be. And it's fully embraced and respected in all the ways, at least when I see it. And it's also an active part when we discuss about how do we get the furthest reach of the products we're doing and get them out on the shelf and talk into what's important to people whenever we look at what we're doing.
Maeve, I heard Lydia say something about brave, curious, and focused. Do you want to take an expansion on that one?
Maybe just to give a little bit of context, and obviously I'll be like double clicking in support with what Lydia was saying around, we have kind of three behaviors, bravery, focus, and curiosity, which really sit at the root of our culture at the Lego Group. And that comes from our leadership model, which is something that we call the leadership playground. So the leadership playground is a little bit of a unique leadership model, because within it, what we believe is that everyone across the Lego Group should be seeing themselves as leaders, because true leadership is demonstrated by the actions that we take, not the positions that we hold. And we do that by being brave, by being focused, and by being curious. So they kind of are, I think, our cultural beacons, I guess, in terms of across all the different types of roles, divisions, areas across the Lego Group, we've got these three behaviors in common.
I'm curious, you made me curious, Maeve. I'm curious to ask Fatima a little bit about how her curiosity has changed maybe her role or informed her journey inside of the Lego Group.
Thanks, Dick. One thing when I meet people and work with them, the one thing that I always get fed back is, oh, you're a very curious person. So I believe that I have by nature been very curious, and I have just loved that was one quality that was encouraged time and time again, and something that has really helped. How it has translated to work is I have worked as a creator, especially with communicating for our products in the past. And I think curiosity for how we can do things better and what is it that our consumers are looking for, needing, expecting from time and again, that has always been a guiding force. So always looking out, being curious about what is the right thing to do, and never being satisfied with what your own assumption or opinion is, but always seeking out for that response has always helped me. And then also working with other colleagues who came with different perspectives, different opinions. I think always being curious about that and being open about that has informed my work and the output that came from me and my team tremendously.
It's interesting. You said that informed your work, the curiosity, and I think a lot of the different aspects of Lego culture kind of inform our work. I'd love to just hear, whoever wants to take that. How does the Lego culture actually inform your work, or whether it's through Leadership Playground, or if there are other aspects, maybe the learning through play or our play culture? How does that inform your work?
Oh, that's such a big question.
I think if I can jump in on this one, I think that a good sorry about that, Maeve. A good testament to what it is that we often hear the words being said, I'm going to be a bit curious. I'm super curious about this one. Or I think this is a time where we need to be brave. Or let's focus on this one. It might seem like it's just random words that get shouted out in a room or said in a room and any other company. But I think here at the Lego Group, it means something because it aligns everyone down to this one. Right, we have these 3 behaviors and now we're taking a leap. We're doing something that for some of us might be outside of our comfort zone. Everyone has their preference of the 3 behaviors and everyone has theirs where they really have to go, okay, I'm going to take the leap now. And by putting into wording like this, it really becomes a way of our culture by looking at how we're doing everything, at least in the teams I work in.
But I think that's I know both of us want to get on this question. It's a good one. I think for me, the way that it shows is also the opportunity that we have working for the Lego Group. So as an example, I've moved out here 18 months ago. Now that meant moving to a different country, working with a completely different team, being involved in factory planning, which I'd never done before. So actually the trust and the faith was put in me. But to do that, I had to be all those things that we've just talked about, being brave, focused and curious. I have an amazing team around me who actually I had to ask the questions. And as a leader, to go into a role where you don't have that knowledge and actually you are then asking those curious questions, you have to be brave because actually you can't lead from a principle that you know how to do the job. You lead from a principle that you are helping and engaging and supporting the team to deliver the best that they can. So the culture comes through not only in the day-to-day, but also then how we grow as individuals within the Lego Group as well.
That's an interesting point, growing as individuals in the Lego Group. I see there's a question already in one of the chats here about onboarding new hires, and how is it that we build that curiosity, bravery, and focus into our new hires from day one?
So I could maybe give a little bit of a sense of that, Jake. So I think even if we're looking at kind of through your interview process and how you're coming into the Lego Group, we kind of really want to explore not just your skills or your experience, but actually around these 3 behaviors of bravery, focus, and curiosity, right? So they're very much integrated in as part of how you come into the Lego Group. And I think that's because it's quite important that it's not just the skills and experience, but that kind of behaviors, values-wise, we're all aligned, right? That we're kind of all trying to strive after the same thing. When you're coming into the Lego Group, I think what we really encourage is around how you can use those 3 behaviors through your onboarding. So the biggest one for me, I think, is around curiosity. When I came into the Lego Group, and this was always my big piece of advice when anyone joined the Lego Group, is to really take advantage of the time when you're new to truly be curious, to reach out, to grab coffees. That's how I met Lydia, I think, for the first time. Like to grab coffees with people and to really just try and understand who we are as an organization and how we work, not just your individual slice, but actually how the whole thing comes together. And I think that there's a huge amount of time created to help people to really embrace curiosity when you first come in. And for some people, that also epitomizes bravery, right? To reach out to other people. And the biggest thing that struck me when I first joined the Lego Group was just how accessible people are. So you can be curious and reaching out to anyone, regardless of level, regardless of location. And I feel that's a really defining feature of our culture as well, is people are always ready to say yes, to grab you for a car, to meet you for a coffee, to give you some of their time, to give you advice and all of that. And I think that's because of that curious behavior that kind of we all have in common, right? So it's very much integrated in as part of onboarding, but I think curiosity is the one that really comes to the fore when you first join the Lego group, and how you are kind of stepping in, embracing that behavior.
Mm. There are a couple of questions in here about embracing that behavior, and I want to see if we can address them. I'm not 100% sure if we can in this group, but one is about how are we embracing staying diverse while aligning around that leadership culture. And another one is about neurodivergence and how people with neurodivergent issues might be able to work in this environment.
I can start answering that if you want.
Yeah.
All right, Lydia. So I have plenty of examples actually from Lego stores, because I have been very fortunate to visit a lot of them within Latin America and out of this region as well. And you can see how all of the values come to life every single day. For example, there was this store where they have a little box in the back of the house where every single employee would feel a little Lego brick whenever they have an innovative idea, something out of curiosity and creativity, no matter if it had to do with a different placement for the cleaning supplies or a different way to interact with kids and engage them in the play tables in the store. So it helps when you bring your true self to work, but you are not alone. You will have this culture that will embrace you and will support you. And the full organization is going to be working towards that same goal. Because the idea is that when everyone is a leader and you have also these examples around you, it's a way to applaud that behavior and to keep it rolling. So just as Maeve says, I think that it's important for you to bring your true self to work and to keep leading through example, but you will not be alone. You have to read your team. You have to understand what's the organizational culture and values and make it happen.
Yeah, great answer.
Completely. I'm going to jump in on this one too, if that's okay. And I think the fact that we all want to talk about it again, it's something that's in us and something that we talk about on a daily basis. So I'm sitting in Kladno in Czech Republic, and I'm obviously not Czech. Now that means there is an instant diversity piece, but actually we don't necessarily look at that. I have a very different style to people in my team, to people in the leadership team. And actually what it's about is having those open communication styles, understanding what works best for the people that you are communicating with. And that could be in regular meetings, that could be on one-off coffee chats, and actually making sure that you then practice that style. So not only are we getting the right help and support for ourselves as individuals, but we're doing that for all those people that we interact with. Being curious and focused and brave and using those words means that we can learn about these things as part of our day-to-day, and then we bring that learning back into the place that we work, and we help educate others. We talk about it regularly. It's just it's the norm conversation that we have. So it's not a thing that feels like it's on top of our day-to-day. It's not something that we would shy away from if someone came to us and said, actually, this is my neurodiversity trait and I need help to support that. I think we would find a way to embrace it and make it a normal part of the day-to-day for them.
If I may jump on that one also, it just inspired me, because I think that one of the things that came to me as a kind of a revelation, you could actually say, from joining the Lego group was that looking at the leadership, there's a common phrase I've heard several times from leaders, and I've adapted it to myself now also, is that whenever something goes wrong, it's not who has the blame. It's always how we did not set that person up for success. Mm-hmm. Which there are two things that are important with this one. The one thing is it takes a focus on who is that person, what does that person need in order to succeed, and it takes the blame away from that person as well. I think both of these ways of thinking are central to how we embrace all kinds of people, and also focus on reaching a common goal instead of playing a blame game of any sort.
Yeah, seeing our failures as opportunities. Yeah. Fatima, I heard, I mean, we're talking a lot about diversity and inclusion here, and I wonder if maybe you could just talk a little bit about how your experience with working with diversity and inclusion, and recently I know there's maybe a playful aspect to that.
Yes, thank you, Jake. So, of course, it applies to me in person because I come from India, and I also took the crazy decision to move continents and be airdropped in Balloon 9.5 years later. I'm still here, so that speaks a lot. So I have a lot of personal experience around this, and how our culture was kind of accommodative of the diversity that came with it. Secondly, I think because I worked with marketing, we were very, very conscious of how we were very mindful of representation. So that was huge. And then thirdly, now that I have the opportunity of working with our employees, our colleagues, and also influence them with play, we're also looking for we're always curious and looking for new ways on how to kind of deal with this kind of topic that's very important, sometimes can be very sensitive. So always looking for innovative ways. So how do you make a safe space to make these difficult kind of sometimes sensitive conversations happen? So my team has recently, along with the diversity inclusion team within the Lego group, we have come up with a playful activity, which is almost like a facilitated workshop that has a playful mindset and a playful approach. Now, we don't give the answers, but we have created the framework for a playful playground, again, for colleagues, teams to get together and to approach this topic very thoughtfully, very meaningfully, and at the same time having fun because of the elements of play that were involved. We made it socially engaging, we made it joyful, we made it interactive. And I think those characteristics is just an example of how we are constantly looking for ways where we can even work with these topics, which of course are to be considered with a lot of respect and sincerity, yet be made playful. So yeah, I think it has been a great opportunity, and we are constantly looking for more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think play sort of finds its way into a lot of the roles that we have here and informs a lot of our work. And I think in terms of culture, we try to foster a playful culture, a playful work culture. And maybe I think that probably also informs how we develop our products, Jens. You want to take that one?
It does. I think it's core of what we want to do. So we try to, first of all, whenever you find a meeting room in this building, or I think in most other of our buildings, you'll find bricks in there. So you always have bricks to sit and fiddle with. But apart from that, it's always about getting the right level of play. So we play test everything that we do. So we put ourselves in the role of kids. We have kids coming in testing our products. But it's even in meetings. I have a meeting on a weekly basis, and it's a Teams meeting, and whenever we take order, it's a pointing game. So I point at someone, and they have to point on the next one, and at some point they point at someone who's been pointed off, and it just becomes play. We try to put play in whatever we can. It's the small things, the small details, but it really works. And then of course we have our bricks all around us, and we have a basement with a lot of other playing stuff, so we can go down and play with a pinball machine. And it's everywhere in everything we do.
And how would you say leadership kind of fosters that playful working culture? I guess maybe Maeve from your work with Leadership Playground.
Yeah, I mean, I was just nodding along with Jens, because I think one of the things that was also very noticeable for me when I joined the Lego group was, like, I don't want to say serious play, because that's not what I mean, but it's just so kind of inherent in how we do things, and how do you get to a better, more innovative, more creative, more connected outcome. And I think that kind of comes the whole way through the organization. So, the Lego group, obviously we're a family owned organization, and I think play is one of the core values that comes from the family and kind of infiltrates through everything that we do. And it is something that we take very, very seriously. So each year we have what we call Play Day, where the whole organization comes together, and we, I don't want to say stop working, but we kind of have a day where we come together and we all play together. And for me, it's like the highlight of the whole year, not just because I'm getting to play at work, and all of my friends think that that's slightly insane, but also it's the day where you kind of meet colleagues that you wouldn't have met before, right? Or you're finding out about things or approaches or new tools, for example, coming from Fatima, you're finding out about things you wouldn't have done before. So it's not really something for us that's kind of like on a mug or a sticker. It's very much, I think, integrated into who and how we are. And that's, I think, from the top to the bottom of the organization. It's very, very important for us, I think.
As a matter of fact, I believe that we are all encouraged to be play agents. We actually take different courses and lessons and tips all around that can teach you how to play, no matter if it's just for an icebreaker activity before a meeting, or if you want to take it home and play with your kids, or if you are in a Lego store and you want to engage with the shoppers. We are all invited to play every single day. And it doesn't have to be disruptive or I don't know, something that it's bad or that takes out your time, your precious time. We embrace it as a natural thing for our organization. It should be for everyone, actually, not only in this company, but out in the world.
That's right.
Just to echo what Robert.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Jake. No, I was just echoing what Roberto said, because we talk a lot about playful mindset, that what you might be doing or how you're addressing a challenge or a problem might not look visibly like, you know, you're playing with something, but it's probably the playful mindset that you're applying while at it. And that playful mindset automatically allows or makes room for that curiosity, bravery, and focus, because you're engaged. And then, you know, because it's playful, kind of it evens the ground and everybody feels comfortable speaking up. There's not the hierarchy. You're not afraid, or you're not afraid of failure or judgments. So I think the playful mindset that is very actively encouraged also helps us, you know, embrace the 3 behaviors that we talk about. Thanks, Jake.
Completely. And I've just literally come from a leadership team meeting at the moment. We were talking about demand planning. Now, anyone who knows anything about demand planning, that's numbers, that's Excel, spreadsheets. We're looking at how we balance, how many sets we make. Now, that could be really, really dry. But actually, as a group of people as diverse from HR to safety to the guys who actually run the lines, we had a really interactive session talking about what if. And we were playing a game, what would happen if, and coming up with different scenarios. And the spark that came from someone who works in the safety department to someone who works in finance, it was brilliant. And it is just like kids do when they get together. They come up with different scenarios. We don't tie ourselves down. That's a normal meeting that happens day to day that we sit in. And that's how the play becomes part of what we do.
And that's creativity that's driving innovation in all of our processes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. There's a couple of questions in here. One that I think is interesting, because we talked a little bit about values. We sort of hit on some of the, you know, if we think about our brand framework, we've started to hit on some of those things. There's one in here about, what do you take away from Ole Christensen's motto, only the best is good enough? I think, you know, only the best is good enough is something that is built into our culture. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Well, I can jump in if you want. As part of my role, I am responsible to making sure that all of the stores in Latin America provide the top experience for our visitors. And it's not only a personal thing. I think that everyone who is part of the Lego retail organization or the Lego certified stores team, we are all committed to that, because for us, every single point of contact from our shoppers, our visitors, our consumers is critical. So we allow ourselves to enjoy that trip. And every single time that we have the opportunity to interact with someone in the stores, I think we try to make it magical. I can remember one anecdote from the time that we opened our first certified store in Brazil. I was in Rio de Janeiro and I was just playing with the staff in a play table, and suddenly one special guest invited by the PR team started playing with us. Of course, I didn't know because I'm not Brazilian, but that was a very famous musician visiting the store in Rio. And when we were playing and interacting with Lego bricks, he had his eyes wide open, thinking all of the things that he could do back home with his kid just by playing with Lego bricks. And the fact that I just was playing with another friend and not particularly with an artist made it very friendly, very comfortable, very authentic, both for him and for the team of the store and for myself. And I think that's the beautiful thing about play. We like saying that children are our role model. And I think that we all believe in that because that's the way that the children learn something in the world. Playing, just interacting, just being freely open to learning new stuff. And it's very, very special.
I think maybe to build on that, I think, children are our role models. I think when I look at only the best is good enough, for me, it always associates with our purpose, which is around how do we inspire the builders of tomorrow. And actually, I think, one of the things for me that I think is really powerful about working at the Lego Group is I think all of us, and even the kind of 7 of us on this call, we're all in different roles doing different things, but I think feel a connection to that purpose and how we're helping to deliver that. And that links for me into only the best is good enough because it kind of pushes me to do better, to be better, to think about how do I link into that purpose every day. So I always look at it only the best is good enough as something to inspire me to think about how to do things better, but also the sense of responsibility that I have for how I'm connected into what we put out in the world at the Lego Group. So those two kind of always tie together for me, I think.
Yeah. Fatima, I'd love to hear, because you've been on 2 different perspectives now. You had a target group of consumers when you're in the agency, and now your target group is our colleagues. So how does only the best is good enough fit into the way that you work for them?
Yeah, thanks for that insightful question, Jake. I think what I'm always amazed at, right from the time I started working with the Lego Group, was like, the values that we are all asked to be kind of, accountable to. And that's like, we call them promises. So promises that we have towards play, promises that we have towards people, which is our employees, promise that we have towards planet, and promise that we have towards our partners, that is people we work with. And I think even though, of course, the one that's most visible to the most world is like, what we do for children and, the experiences we give them. I have felt so privileged to see how much, how particular we are with like addressing and matching up to those standards towards our values, even towards these other groups of people. And that's exactly to your point, Jake. I deployed the same amount of commitment when I was working towards play experiences for children and giving them information about play possibilities that they have with us. And it's the same commitment that I have towards our colleagues and our employees. So for example, now if my job is to look for meaningful ways of engaging our employees, our workforce, and making them global ambassadors of learning through play, I'm always curious about what would be most relevant way of doing that for our colleagues. And kind of also being brave to like pushing boundaries and standards and not settling in for something that does not feel good enough. So that's where we are also brave enough to kind of question and challenge each other sometimes, where I'm almost empowered because of this motto that no, if it's not good enough, we empower you to kind of raise your voice and speak up and take those difficult conversations, push those boundaries. So I have really been privileged to see how we kind of apply this motto to all these diverse groups of people we have our commitment to.
Mm-hmm. I saw a question in the chat about a lot of us have moved, a lot of us have relocated for the Lego Group. Some of us haven't. And the question was, what was the decisive factor that convinced you to move to another country or to join the Lego Group? But I also wonder, for those of you who stay or who are, located in the same place or staying in the same roles, so what is it that keeps you there, and is the culture the answer to that? I myself moved from the U.S. to Billund, Denmark, to be with the Lego Group. I was already with the Lego Group, and that was an opportunity for me to move. It was a big decision. It was a really difficult one, but in the end, it's been a great decision, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think the culture was probably maybe the big deciding factor in that.
No, I'd
I think for
echo
me,
that.
sorry, Lydia. After
It's
you.
all right. So the culture, the thing I love is that culture stays the same. So actually, whether I'm in the Czech Republic, whether I'm in the UK, that culture is the thing which is the heartbeat, which means that actually, yes, you're in a new place. Yes, you're learning new things. You are in a new team, but actually, it still feels the same, which is lovely. But it's the people that really make it special. And I don't feel like I've moved to a completely different company or a completely different place, because actually I've still got those networks. What I've done is I've broadened my network and my base. I still keep those connections because anyone is only a phone call away, as Maeve knows. And it does feel like you are just learning more and more as you grow. It's a brilliant opportunity to learn, to grow and develop. And that's the reason why I moved. Yes, it was a hard decision. It meant moving my family with me. Wasn't a decision I could make by myself. I needed to make sure it worked for them. But actually the opportunity to do that and the experience of growing and learning something brand new is phenomenal.
Yeah, great. Anyone else want to tip in on that one?
I can share that I have not been relocated. Oh, sorry, Jens.
No, go, Roberto.
So I have not been relocated, but I am actually pursuing that. And just as Lydia says, the fact that you can trust your organization, that you will be in a safe environment, that all of these values, all of these guidelines and family will be with you when you are in another place, just make you trust. And that is very special.
Yeah, it is. Jens, did you have something to add, or can I throw a different one your way?
Okay, it looks like you have. Sounds like you have something on your mind. Throw away.
Yeah. There's something about learning and development. So when we're developing our people, there's a question in here about how we're developing people and how culture plays a role in that, whether it's through learning through play, whether it's through Leadership Playground. What is the most effective part of our culture that helps us to develop? Either whether it's developing our colleagues or our employees or ourselves.
I think, well, if you're talking about developing colleagues, it's very much about leadership. But I think that the culture is essential here, and the curiosity is really, and also the focus is really two behaviors that are central to this, because you're entitled to, you're almost expected to be curious about how can I develop as a person. And we have several layers on how you each year decide, where do I want to develop? Is it on a professional level or on a personal level? We have so many offerings on how you can learn, both from LinkedIn Learning access to all employees. There is there's so many hubs that we can learn on depending on what you're working with, and it's almost a hub for everything. So it's you have so many things here, and then you have a culture and a leadership group that supports it, I believe, no matter where you are, that they focus on how can you continue to develop as a person. I think the last word that I've heard that we were talking a lot about is the growth mindset in the organization. So that how do you continue to see yourself as a growing individual, and where can you grow in the next part? And we don't even, sometimes it's not even important if it's on a personal level that's not related to your direct work, but continue to grow. Continue to see how you can develop, and then they will provide a huge amount of opportunities for this.
Maybe just to build on Jens's point, because it definitely resonates with me in terms of, I think for us, or certainly my experience with it, there's not one way to grow, and you don't necessarily need to grow up. Is that the right phrase? But you don't necessarily need to grow up. You can go across, you can grow sideways, and it's very much about how you as an individual want to develop. I think within the leadership playground context, the way that we activate the playground and this idea of leadership for all is through this community, which we call Playground Builders. So we have 2,100 playground builders across the Lego group, and they are really the kind of champions of this idea of being brave, being focused, being curious, and how each of us can kind of step up in ourselves as a leader, even if we're not necessarily in leadership positions. And I think that for me is kind of, and the fact that that's something that is so invested in, not just by our senior leadership, but by people that are volunteering and giving their time to be part of this really awesome community of playground builders. I think that's kind of symbolic of the fact that people want to grow, develop, and it doesn't necessarily need to be in a very traditional, well, we obviously have all of that, a traditional learning and development structure. It's about how you're growing and developing yourself and connecting with other people that want to do that with you. So I always think the playground and the Play Agent program are kind of iconic for the fact that there isn't just one way to grow, and it isn't just in a lateral learning and development program, that actually there's loads of opportunities for you to be doing that, I think, in different ways.
Yeah, it's such a great point. A lot of us have moved or, changed roles laterally because of the opportunity for growth in a different direction. One thing, we're just about out of time here, but there was one on here that I think maybe we maybe set up this idea that we're just playing all of the time, because there's a question about how we balance working, which that could be true, while staying focused and performing well on deadlines. So maybe if you could just help to color what we really mean when we're talking about playful working, so that the idea is not that we're just playing.
I mean, I can maybe, I guess from my perspective, bring it in, because I think the shift for me was around, I don't see play and work as two different things. I see play as very much helping how I work, right? Yep. So it's a way that maybe, for example, I have a session coming up next week with people from different parts of the business that I don't know each other very well. And actually, we could spend 45 minutes doing a kind of very standard, who are you, how to get to know you, etc. But actually, I know that by using play, I'm going to help them connect and feel more connected in that session in 5 minutes, as opposed to necessarily a more traditional way of doing things. So
and make more meaning connections.
And make it more meaningful connections, right? And that we're able to connect more as humans. So I don't think, for me, they're two separate things and I switch into a work mode. It's very much around how can I use play to accelerate, or to Lydia's example, how do we use play to get to new ideas and to challenge our assumptions around how things need to happen. So that, I guess that's how I would see that.
Yeah, great example. Anyone else want to tip into that one?
Working within the factory and within the supply chain, we're really structured. There's no two ways about it. And we have dashboards, we have KPIs. Everyone loves a good Excel sheet. So actually that work is always there. It has to be. If you didn't, there wouldn't be enough Lego sets in the shop. It's critical. But actually having the ability to deal with some of these really tough topics, to manage our day-to-day and our working, but do it while having fun, means that actually sometimes we have the ability to question someone who maybe we wouldn't question in a normal traditional work setting. The ability to be curious, as we've talked about, is great because it breaks down some of those, in different companies, those silos that may exist between departments, and it allows us to come to those decisions a lot faster. So I think play and work, as Mavis said, hand in hand.
Yeah, totally agree with that. We're just about out of time here. I want to just ask you, everyone, to just go around one word, the most important thing about the play culture to you here at the Lego Group. Starting with Fatima.
I'm tempted to say trust.
Trust, excellent.
We're trusted.
Yeah, good one.
To get where we need to, and we're trusted on how we get there.
Right.
So there's a lot of autonomy there, which I really, really enjoy.
Lydia.
Authenticity.
Oh, that's the one I wanted.
Berto.
Inspiration.
Inspiration.
I think that we have to live the values, we have to inspire others. You have to be inspired by others. I like that.
I think I go with connection. I think what we really want to embrace is different opinions, diverse points of view, but actually finding a point of connection and commonality as humans. So that one for me.
Great one, man. Jens.
I'm going to be focused and stay with authenticity. I think
Okay.
it's an central point.
Good one. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and everyone who's out there tuning in remotely. I want to thank you for joining. If you missed anything, you can watch the recording that'll be posted. And if we didn't get to your questions, we'll try to have them answered by the team here that's on the call, or our producers will try to follow up afterwards. Stay tuned. Next week at the same time, we have another episode coming up. Live behind the bricks. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Jake.
Bye.